Greetings, SCA families. The following video is a detailed narrative of the recent ACSI and Advanced Ed accreditation process that we just went through in 2015. We're very proud of the outcomes, and we wanted to provide open communication and transparency to you of the detailed narrative that was provided as a result of the accreditation. The following are video slides and narratives of each one that go through all of the commendations and recommendations provided by ACSI and Advanced Ed. It may be easiest to listen to this on Bluetooth over in your car on a commute home, or perhaps to watch in pieces, but mainly we wanted it to be available to you so you could have the details. They did a thorough review, and we're very proud of the outcomes. We hope you'll celebrate with us, and we'll also keep you informed of any progress on the recommendations and the commendations. Let's start with the end so we don't have any built-up suspense. First, the maximum ACSI and Advanced Ed accreditation that is allowed, the maximum time period that they can approve, is a 5-year accreditation process. We are very proud to report and excited that we received the maximum allowed accreditation review cycle and have been accredited with a full 5-year terms. Accrediting teams are not required to give full 5-year terms, so it is a true accomplishment for SCA to receive the maximum allowable accreditation term. We provide annual updates to them, and will also provide a mid-cycle report where they will come out halfway through our accreditation cycle in 2.5 years for an update. So let's do a quick overview of the process. SCA forms an accreditation team in advance. This took place well over a year ago. All the stakeholders were involved. And one thing impressive about our process is that we involved every teacher and every staff member. This is not something that administrators prepare for behind the scenes. The entire community of faculty and staff do. For over a year, our school prepared to show evidence for all of the standards. In August, we submitted our final document, which was actually electronic, several folders, and hundreds of documents of evidence to the accrediting agencies for review prior to their visit. A team then arrived in October of 8 people representing 6 different schools from 5 different states who, prior to arriving, had thoroughly studied our school and our self-evaluation. They visited with parents, students, and spent time in every single teacher's classroom while they were here, as well as visiting with the superintendent and with the board. They analyzed 5 key areas, and they use a formal rubric to evaluate us in these 5 key areas. This was for a dual accreditation with 2 accrediting agencies. The first is the Association of Christian Schools International, or ACSI, and the second is Advanced Ed. The lead evaluator met with administration and teacher leaders in a series of meetings 10 months prior to the visit. Due to the recent change in leadership at the superintendent level, we were given the opportunity to extend for an additional year, but we confidently chose to move ahead and not extend for a year as a result of our confidence in the programs, in our school, and with the smooth transition that has taken place. Classroom teachers took the lead in each of the 5 standards, which they were very impressed by. We were commended for our stakeholder involvement in the process, for allowing all of our teachers to be involved in the process and our teachers to even lead the process, and we were told that our final voluminous report was one of the best that they had ever seen. So let's quickly cover the 5 standards that they review us on. We'll go through each of them in detail later. The first standard is for purpose and direction of the school. The second standard is overall governance and leadership of the school. The third standard is about teaching and assessing for learning. The fourth standard is in relation to resources and support systems. And the final standard is related to using results for continuous improvement. Before we talk about their commendations and recommendations for each of those 5 standards in detail, I want to talk about what they're actually out here to provide us with. When they come out, both ACSI and Advanced Ed, they leave providing us with a list of 3 things. First, a list of our powerful practices. These are the most amazing things they notice about our school that we should model for other Christian schools. These are our highest commendation points. Second, some optional opportunities for improvement. These are usually more specific items that they just notice during their visits or in our classrooms that they may say for us to take a look at and see if there's other best practices available. These are all optional, but are great insights from people who are coming out to do an independent review. And finally, our improvement priorities. They will always leave a list of priorities for improvement, and these are the ones they expect to see evidence of when they come back to do mid-accreditation reviews. So we're going to provide you with their outcomes of those at this time. First, powerful practices. These are 4 things that they were absolutely amazed about and commended us for. First, our stewardship of resources. Second, the culture of the school. Third, the technology infrastructure. And fourth, the community focus and practice. We'll go into details of these when we go through the commendations of each of the standards, but they were absolutely amazed at how well we've stewarded our resources, both financially and otherwise, through a decline in enrollment due to the economy in 2007 and on, and as well as the change in leadership of recent times. We have a very strong foundational school. The culture of the school they were amazed at, the consistency of what students, parents, and families were all saying about our school culture, and our technology infrastructure. They felt like we were ahead of the curve. We were a model for other schools in terms of our outlook on technology and in terms of the pilot programs we have in place. And finally, the focus on community and how we work together as a community. The second part are optional opportunities for improvement. These are just observations along the way that, based on practices they have at their own school, they may recommend that we look at for best practices. They provided us 2 main ones. One, implementation of improved research-based teacher training and mentoring program. And 2, review of board policy to allow for greater flexibility for the superintendent. The wonderful and comforting news to us on these 2 opportunities for improvement is that we have made headway on those even prior to them coming out. These were areas that we had already been looking at. We hired a director of curriculum and instruction, and we've already begun a process of planning for a 5-year rollout in terms of vertical alignment with our curriculum mapping, in terms of our improvement in teacher coaching and resource opportunities for our teachers, and as well as board training and superintendent training on the board-superintendent relationship and on the policy governance model. So although these were recommendations for improvement, the accrediting team was thrilled and excited about the direction we're heading in these 2 areas. And finally, improvement priorities. These are the priorities we are to focus on for our accreditation cycle, before the next accreditation in 5 years and during their mid-accreditation visit. The 2 improvement priorities they asked us to focus on was data-informed instruction and assessment and curriculum alignment. For data, they were actually very impressed with the amount of data that we collect and with the way that we provide the data to families in relation to how our school performs against standards nationally and locally. However, they feel like we could now disaggregate that data better, improve on our analysis of that data on a more disaggregated level so that it could impact classrooms and curriculum decisions. And second, curriculum alignment. It is now time in our cycle to review our curriculum and to map our curriculum. I want to say again that these were actually exciting for us to hear because this was already our focus with the strategic plan. It was the reason we hired a director of curriculum and instruction. And even just in the last 4 months, we have already mapped out a plan for using Curriculum Track in order to map our curriculum vertically and horizontally and to do data-informed decision-making training. Our 2016-17 professional development has already been dedicated to these amounts even prior to their visit. So the fact that they recognized the same things we did was reassurance that we are headed in the right direction. That's the summary. We'll now go through each standard piece by piece and provide you the narratives that we were provided from ACSI Advance Ed on specific commendations and recommendations. I do hope that you'll stick it out to listen to this because these are independent sources from other schools around the country and locally that come in specifically to give an independent set of eyes to what we're doing. It's an inside look that families often don't get into our schools, and I hope it'll provide you both reassurance of our commendations and confidence in our work towards our recommendations. So let's start with Standard 1. Standard 1 reads that the school maintains and communicates a purpose and direction that commit to high expectations for learning, as well as shared values and beliefs about teaching and learning. Each of the bullets will go through specific commendations and recommendations that they have provided us. First, they commended us for clear evidence of a strong commitment to our mission and core values. We were commended for clearly and frequently communicating these core values and documents to our stakeholders in all the areas of our school. We were commended for clearly and consistently communicating understandings of our mission statement, and that this was articulated with our faculty, with our administration, and with board members. When they interviewed all of our constituents, the answers were consistent with our mission and our core values. We were commended for the policies, procedures, and the handbooks that we have in place, which clearly reflected the mission, core values, and the philosophy of our school. We were commended for an impressive and a very strong school culture. They could not say enough about the powerful and positive school culture that we have here. We were commended on the dedication of the teachers to the school and for the success of each student. We were commended for the consistent stories of individualized attention, which were compelling and prevalent, and that they heard over and over again throughout their interviews with all different parties. We were commended on the students' and parents' understanding and their appreciation of the dedication of the faculty and of the faculty's willingness to give up their time and talents to help students' success academically, spiritually, and socially. We were commended on parents making it clear that a primary driver for them choosing SCA for their children was the close family community that exists here. And finally, they made a recommendation. While we were commended for the amount of data we gather and for communicating these results to families, as I mentioned earlier, we were encouraged to take this to the next stage, to disaggregate the data to affect classroom decisions and instruction. A school-wide system, using the large amount of data we already gather, could be systematically analyzed to personally affect curricular and instructional decisions for student learning. We will now cover Standard 2. Standard 2 reads that the school operates under governance and leadership that promote and support student performance and school effectiveness. For Standard 2, we were commended that all the stakeholder groups were focused on preservation of the mission and purpose of SCA. We were commended on the evidence that all the stakeholders are committed to preserving the founding principles of the school. They were very impressed that we were engaging the founders, focusing on the history and heritage, and focusing on the founding principles. We were commended that the school board has undergone training to better understand and execute a policy governance model of school board governance, and for their commitment to continue training for this model and for their support of the superintendent. We were recommended for continued ongoing annual training to preserve this model. We were commended for evidence indicating an excellent working relationship between the current leadership in place and the board. They recommended that we consider extending board terms to be more consistent with the standard model that many other Christian schools use, which can help create stability within the organization that can be beneficial to all stakeholders. They recommended that we revise our school board policy to be slightly less restrictive on the superintendent and more consistent with a policy governance model. We were commended that it was clear to the visiting team that the school's in good hands with the current superintendent, who has worked in tandem with the board to develop a workable and strong relationship from the first day. We were commended for the apparent confidence and trust from stakeholder groups without exception for the current administration and board. And the visiting team felt very strong that the best days of SCA are ahead and that we continue to get better. The third standard is that the school's curriculum, instructional design, and assessment practices guide and ensure teacher effectiveness and student learning. We were commended on this standard on our rich Christian heritage, staunchly supportive community, and enduring commitments to prepare our students to be change agents in the world. This was evident to them. We were commended for the family's praise of our staff for being highly effective communicators, keeping them informed of their child's progress, and their engaging of students in meaningful ways. We were commended on our staff for their enduring relationships that they formed and fostered with the students. We were commended for the evidence they saw on the return of SCA alumni, both as future parents and to visit. We were commended on the commitment to our support services and meeting the learning needs of students through various ways such as early literacy programs, honors and advanced classes for secondary students, and our Pathways program. We were commended for the strong sense of staff camaraderie, supporting and encouraging of each other. They really noticed a very enthusiastic and encouraging staff who were ready to move forward into the future. We were commended for evidence of a renewed energy and eagerness on our campus. We were commended for evidence that the teachers are ready to embrace opportunities for professional growth, for continuous improvement. A recommendation they made for us was a formal plan for training staff to interpret and use data from multiple assessments to influence the curriculum, assessment, and instruction. Formalizing this practice was a recommendation, as we mentioned earlier. Another recommendation was that we collaborate to increase the vertical alignment of the curriculum with our standards and to maintain continuity. This relates to curriculum mapping, which we discussed earlier. We were commended for our commitment to professional development through the hiring of our Director of Curriculum and Instruction and our generous tuition reimbursement plan that we offer at SCA for our employees. They recommended guidance and instruction for teachers on how to best utilize technology that we do have available. They were very impressed with where we are with technology. They felt we were very ahead of the curve, but they recommended that we have additional guidance and instruction for teachers to use it. And they also recommended continued training and focus as part of our upcoming update of our curriculum maps to include an increased focus on biblical integration. Moving on to Standard 4. Standard 4 reads that the school has resources and provides services that support its purpose and direction to ensure success for all students. We were commended on the incredible and shrewd financial stewardship that has kept the health of SCA strong. Strong principles of careful stewardship were commented on frequently. We were commended for a culture of excellence and incredible dedication on the part of key faculty and staff members in relation to our stewardship of resources. We were commended for faculty maintaining high professional qualifications, with many teachers holding master's degrees and 100% of faculty carrying ACSI certifications. That is unusual for every single teacher on our campus to be certified. We were commended for resources that are aimed at student achievement and mission achievement. We were commended for decisions to dedicate resources to the hiring of a Director of Curriculum and Instruction and to support teachers in professional development and curriculum development. In addition, they were commending us for the Spiritual Life Director hire and the commitment to the spiritual formation of our students as a key part of our mission. We were commended for a beautiful, safe, and clean campus environment, spacious classrooms, beautiful fields and gymnasium, creative art spaces, tech labs, and great age-appropriate play areas. The excellent environment for students to grow and be nurtured was clearly recognized by the accrediting teams. We were commended for the high feeling of safety, with the fact that we have paid security staff on campus, multiple cameras, and fencing around the entire perimeter of the school. They were very impressed with this relative to other schools. We were commended for our regular walk-through observations that are done by all administration and our dedicated maintenance crew for strong monitoring of safety and maintenance needs. We were commended for the ample opportunities to enhance learning through technology, through our dedicated technology labs, through elective classes in technology, and for teacher use of technology. Continuing with Standard 4, we were commended for our forward thinking in technology and for the pilot programs we have in place. We were commended for strong stewardship that's characteristic of the decision makers related to resources. Technology infrastructure is very modern here and more than efficient to meet the needs of the SCA community, which they recognized. We were commended for excellently maintained and well-staffed library and media center. We were commended for the dedication to resources in the guidance department, services for students of social, emotional, and developmental needs, and they were impressed with the fact that we had a full-time counselor, an academic advisor, a college and career counselor, and a Pathways program staff. This is a very healthy staffed program for the size of our school. We were commended for a culture of high performance cultivated through students being offered many opportunities to reach more challenging levels with the number of honors, even at elementary, the AP classes, and the dual enrollment classes that are offered in secondary. We were commended for opportunities for students experiencing challenges to have avenues of greater success through things such as our AEPs, our Pathways program, the academic advisor, and the assistance that's regularly offered by teachers. Their recommendation was that we continue to have comprehensive and strategic plans, procedures, and processes that are developed and maintained in order to continue to provide sustainable and excellent resources and programs for many years to come. They were very impressed with our strategic implementation process of how we are executing our strategic plan and how we are maintaining accountability to ensure that the strategic plan items get accomplished. And the final standard is Standard 5. It reads that the school implements a comprehensive assessment system that generates a range of data about student learning and school effectiveness and uses the results to guide continuous improvement. We were commended for our commitment to ongoing improvement of instructional program and student achievement. We were commended for the number of key assessment tools that we use on campus, including Terra Nova, PSAT, ACT, SAT, AP, DIBBLES, DDS CMB Math, Gates McGinnity, Star Reading, and many others. We were commended in the elementary school for the collection and use of data to place and track student improvement. We were commended for effective and committed elementary leadership in this area as a primary driver of program's effectiveness. They were impressed with Sherry Moy's continued dedication to our school that, through changes in leadership over the last few years, has maintained its consistency. We were commended for overall collection and availability of data as a school-wide strength. They recommended additional processing, analysis, and application of the results, with an increased focus on the secondary school for data-informed decision-making. This is what we spoke of earlier that's in plans already for training and for teachers to be able to use data to be data-informed. They recommended increased dissemination of data to faculty, again, in a form that can be utilized for program, curriculum, and instructional use. To promote this, they recommend increased attention toward the development and training of teachers in this area. We were commended for the hiring of a Director of Curriculum Instruction, again, which will be a strong support in this area. They recommended an evaluation of the testing vehicles in secondary to ensure that they support the data-informed instructional models that we have in place. They recommended finding time for faculty to be trained, to participate, and to implement in these areas of data analysis and application. We were commended for fulfilling our mission in preparing students well for life and for continued education, both confirmed by students and parents alike, who enthusiastically expressed appreciation for and a commitment to the school's stated goals for students. We were commended for the school's performance indicators for its graduates, including ACT and SAT scores, and students' acceptance into a wide variety of college settings, and for the school's success and strength in preparing students for college. We were commended on our current administration for their vision and palpable excitement for the future of SCA, and we were commended for the intentional implementation of the strategic plan, obtaining our wildly important goals and reaching our neighborhood and world by providing a strong academic and faith foundation for everyone here. So I remind you that all of those were specifically from the ACSI accreditation visit narrative that was provided to us as feedback. They also provided some final words in their narrative, which I'd like to share with you and I think sum up the future of SCA. First, they commented that the work and mission of the school is expressed effectively by its staff and faculty. They commended us for the parents who have committed themselves to supporting our school. We were commended on the teaching staff for their work and their dedication through multiple leadership transitions. We were commended for our elementary administration for the consistency at that position and for her work in bringing stability to the entire school during times of transition. We were commended for the newly appointed 2 years ago secondary administration team for their stated vision and plans for growth in their program. They recommended that we reevaluate and relook at our annual number of school days for instructional time on our annual calendar. We were commended on the school board for their commitment to seeking, achieving, and maintaining a school that is accredited by 2 organizations and ensuring that our high academic and spiritual standards are maintained. We were commended on the superintendent for taking the time early on to know SCA and its history. His time spent with parents, students, and teachers and the board has resulted in expressed trust and confidence in the future and in his leadership by each constituency on campus, including the board. We were commended for the thorough work in the accreditation process, which set the stage for a positive accreditation experience and the basis for the ongoing school improvement that will come from the process. Commendation was given for the committees, the teachers, and that all were involved, and specifically for Aaron Bynum and Kristen McClue for their leadership in the accreditation process. Congratulations to everyone that's involved. Congratulations to our school, to our teachers, to our students, and to our parents for all of their participation in this accreditation process. thank you for being part of this school, for entrusting your children to us, and for bearing with us as we went through this accountability process. It was a very busy time in our school, and we will be going through it again in 5 years. And in the meantime, we will be focused on continuous improvement, heading into the future, making our schools stronger as each day comes.